This is 88.7 FM WHCL out of Clinton, New York.
I'm Rachel, and all I can think about right now is my diddly-darn thesis.
And I'm Kate, and I'm addicted to pirate's booty.
And you're listening to Liberal Arts and Crafts. I would just like to clarify for the listeners that when Kate says she is addicted to pirate's booty, that does not mean the luscious booty of pirates, like actual people.
You know,
it's a food.
that is up for debate because I've never encountered a pirate's booty.
Well, if you're counting fictional pirates' booties, the recent choir musical had quite a few pirates in it.
Ooh, the Pirates of Penzance.
The Pirates of Penzance, yes.
Yes. Well, I truly am addicted to the food pirate's booty. I can't purchase it for myself because I eat a family-sized bag in 24 hours, as Rachel's witnessed many times. So I have had to stop buying it. I guess I'm an abstainer. Hashtag Gretchen Rubin. Has it been a minute yet into the podcast?
Well, it's like 35 seconds in. I can attest to the fact that last summer, Kate's main food groups were yogurt,
That's at least healthy.
overnight oats, and pirate's booty.
That's true. And chili. I made this pot of chili only for me, and it served like 12 people, but they were big servings, so I had to eat it for like 2 weeks. It sucked.
It was good, though.
It was good.
It was good.
But it was a lot of chili. So, Rachel, aside from your thesis, it looks like you've been doing a lot of cleaning again. This is a lit episode.
Okay, but here's the fun fact. I only cleaned because I was procrastinating on my thesis. I'm on a massive cleaning spree this Friday. That was inspired by you. Because you were talking about your mom like cleaning all the dust off your room and how it just smelled so much nicer. And I was like, oh, that sounds nice. And I looked at my blinds and I like touched them and there was all this like black grime that came away in my finger. And I was like, time to fix that. So I literally took a Clorox wipe to every single blind on both of the blinds in my room. I cleaned all of them off, top and bottom. That alone took me like an hour. I vacuumed the entire rug. I did all my laundry. I washed my sheets. I washed my pillowcases. I washed Cedar's pillowcase for her without asking. I dusted every other surface in our room, including the pipes that carry water through our room that connect to the sprinklers in our room in case of a fire. I stood up on a chair and I was like, what if there's dust up here?
Another great Rachel noise. I think that cleaning your pillowcase is such a life hack. It's something that I used to not even, this is gross, but I used to not really think about washing my sheets or my pillowcases because I was like, why would those be dirty? I don't rub mud on them, I don't wear them all day like clothes, but it makes your skin so much clearer when you regularly clean your pillowcase. And I now clean them once every 2 weeks because I just need them to be fresh all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you basically are wearing your sheets. You wear them for 9 hours, ideally, a night, and you're rolling around in them sweating, and if you don't take your makeup off, like me, because I'm not an adult yet, your pillowcase gets all yellow and grody, and there's mascara smears on it, and you're like, that's nice. So the reason why this is a light bulb is because I realized that cleaning is one of my true joys in life. I used to hate cleaning my room. Whenever I would have a sleepover with my friends, I was like, all right, you gotta clean your room first. And I was like, oh, Mom, that's the last thing I wanted to do. And I would hate, vacuuming and, just doing all this, extra stuff. But now I just love it. The feeling of doing something with your hands to distract yourself and then having this tangible product at the end.
That looks better.
Yes, that literally clears your headspace, like Gretchen Rubin says. Outer order contributes to inner calm.
Direct quote.
I have found that to be incredibly true. So I don't have many hobbies, but I think cleaning, as nerdy as that sounds, is one of my new hobbies.
It's a productive one too.
I really enjoy it.
I think that cleaning of your own accord is very different than cleaning when someone tells you to. When my mom is put all the dishes in the dishwasher away, I'm always like, oh, seriously, Mom? But if I were the one to load the dishwasher, then to put them away would be as fulfilling, look, I'm tidying up. As we know from experience, I like tidying, not cleaning. But Well, I'm very excited to live with you in the future, given that cleaning is life, apparently.
Plot twist, this has been a giant lie, and I'm just trying to fool Kate into rooming with me again after graduation. Stay tuned to see if it works. Okay. So I'm excited to hear about your light bulb because I was there while you were working on this homework set.
Yes. So this is another physics and art one, TBT to when I talked about the Chauvet caves. We're now talking about, quote, in the spreadsheet, I wrote, let's talk about Renaissance paintings, though. And this is actually super exciting. And maybe a lot of people know this, and I just didn't know it before I took this class. But, okay, so when the Renaissance started, like, let's say we're in, like, I don't know if this is technically the Renaissance, but we look at, like, 1450 moving forward. And there's, like, paintings used to be, like, very 2D, like, a lot of Egyptian artwork, the characters are, like, look very two-dimensional and they're painted sideways, kind of like picture the, like, walk like the Egyptian dance. But a lot of characters just don't look super realistic, and, like, the artwork is still beautiful, it's just a different style. And then all of a sudden in 1450, there was this crazy switch, like, and all of the paintings become, like, hyper-realistic. Like, you look at a painting and it looks like a photograph, and they just, like, you've seen these paintings. I mean, they're all over museums. And I guess I took for granted for all these years that, like, people just were more talented than they used to be, but also than they are now. I was like, well, I guess that, you know, there's just a lot of talent for 300 years, and now we suck, and that's just how it is. And I never really thought about, like, what would be the key to that artwork being realistic. And so my physics class has been discussing how there's a hypothesis put forward that artists began using lenses and mirrors in order to, like, project light onto their canvas of the image they were painting, and then they could trace it. And they could use that in order to, like, really craft things that were way more realistic than usual. They could make, like, perfect spheres, and they could make perspective look, like, perfect. And Vermeer, they think, was, like, literally, like, painting exactly what was in front of him. And so this was, like, mind-blowing, and it's really mind-blowing for me to hear, because I was like, oh, like, these are real people. They didn't just gain this, like, miracle talent that we ascribe to them, if this hypothesis is true. But, yeah, I just thought this was interesting. And it also, like, this hypothesis that was put forth is just a hypothesis, because we don't have, like, physical evidence of the painter's writing being like, I used optics and mirrors. So this is, like, more new theory. But the interesting thing is that people heard this hypothesis and, like, revolted. Like, everyone who heard this was like, this is a bunch of BS. These painters were talented. How dare you accuse them of cheating? Because a lot of people think that it's, like, cheating to use lenses and mirrors, which I think is silly, because painters use all sorts of tools to be able to craft what they want to make, like grid lines and things like that. So I don't know. It was just, like, an interesting thing to think about. It's like, are the greats cheating? Like, if Michelangelo used a lens to make the Mona Lisa, like, was he cheating? I don't know. You can ascribe it to, like, any of the great painters. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I was thinking about this when we talked about it briefly before, and I posed the question, is this real art? And I'm thinking about that now, and I've been thinking about it the entire time you've been talking, and I think if I had to pick an answer, I would say that it is, because you still have to have some sort of natural talent to do that and put in all the shading and choose which colors to use.
Yeah.
There's no formula that's going to say, oh, for this color that has been projected onto your canvas, you use 3 drops of red and a drop of orange and a drop of green. You know, there's still other things that you have to incorporate. So I think it's BS to say that that's cheating.
Yeah.
That's somehow not hard enough. Like, art has to be some sort of massive exertion.
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting topic. I've been thinking about it a lot. Also, the other interesting thing that supports the theory is that the instant that, like, photography was invented, that's the cutoff for when this artwork stopped. Because it was like, you don't need me to paint something lifelike anymore, because you can just take a picture of it. And then art once again became this more, like, awkward is the wrong word, but, like, it became less like real life and more, like, interpretive again. Or, like, that's now where we are with modern art, which I'm always like, oh, I don't like this. It's not, like, realistic looking enough, or I can't really get into it. But, like, I guess that's what we have photographs and film for. So, interesting things to think about.
That'd be an interesting question to bring up at a bar with someone you just met. Just like bring up
True.
this and be like, do you think this is real?
Did
art?
Michelangelo cheat?
So I've actually been blessed to have multiple jams this week.
Yeah, Rachel's killing it with the jam game.
I'm literally killing it. I technically only have one jam because that is the rule. But I had another one before that I changed an hour ago because I remembered that I went to a concert this past weekend and listened live. Another concert. The third in like the past month. I'm very lucky. And listened live to brand new music that I enjoyed. I was like, wow, there are so many songs that I could choose jams from, and I've been listening to them like all week after the concert. So this is also a fun way to work in another vignette because I have 2 vignettes that I wanted to use as well. So Baby Cheater vignette is that I went to the All American Rejects concert this past Saturday with Emily and Cedar, and it was so fun. I was expecting the lead singer to be super jaded and annoying and not be a good singer because they just have a few like really good one-hit wonder type deals. But actually, he was really good, and he was jaded, but he also gave out these pearls of wisdom infused with such, like, disdain, but yet love and appreciation for life that you were just like, yeah. And at the end of the concert, he told us, he was like, Utica, I may not have been here for long, but I feel like we were in church for an hour and a half tonight and was talking about how it was like a sermon. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I buy into it. So I really enjoyed him. And the openers that opened for them were this band called Secret Weapons, and they don't have a huge listener base, but I believe they're going to be at Firefly this coming year, like one of those big music festivals, so they're on the up and up. And they opened for Panic at the Disco once, which is curious because their lead singer looks exactly like the lead singer of Panic at the Disco.
That's
and
so
I was
weird.
freaking out the whole time because all of his mannerisms were like copying Brendan Urie, and he looked like him, and he was dancing across the stage like him, and his singing sounded like him, and I was grabbing Cedar's arm like, I feel like I'm watching a Panic at the Disco concert. I've been blessed. And one of their songs is called Kenichi Wild off of their EP. They call it an album, but there's only 4 songs in it, so I think that's cheating. But it's very like in the Janelle Monáe vein of last week in that it's very poppy and peppy and there's a lot of zing to it. So I think and hope that you will enjoy it as well.
Okay, Rachel, so I have a jam and an anti-jam this week.
Dun.
I'll start with the anti-jam because while I was blessed to find a song that I really liked this week, I was also cursed to be forced to listen to a song that I detest this week. I will explain. I was at spinning actually today, and Maureen, shout out to Maureen, the spin coach who's leading the little like session, always plays awesome music. She loves playing 80s playlists, so therefore I love everything she plays. And today she started playing a few songs. She played like 1,000 Miles. She played, I'm trying to think of some other ones. It's 3 a.m. Is that the name of the song? She played 1985. So she says, what is the trend? And the people behind me, not me, figure out that the trend was she was playing a playlist of songs that had numbers in the title. So she played like The Year 3000 by the Jonas Brothers. She played 1 Week by the Bare Naked Ladies. So I was like getting really into the playlist, and then in the middle of the session she usually has a like kind of more chill song, and we just like get to relax during that. It's like the halftime, and I'm on this bike. I can't leave. It's the middle of the session, and she turned on my least favorite song. Like least favorite. Like if I had to pick one song that you couldn't force me to listen to, it is this song, and I had to listen to the entirety of it, and I felt depressed for the rest of the day. And can you guess what song it is? It has a number in the title.
No, I can't, but I'm really scared now.
It's probably a song you like. 100 Years.
Oh.
I loathe that
Is this
song.
the one from the Twilight soundtrack?
15 there for a moment.
Oh!
Dun, dun,
Oh my god!
dun.
Wait, I like that song.
I know, see, everyone likes this song. I, 1, don't like sad songs. We've been over this, listeners.
That's fair, that's fair.
Very fair. But 2, this song makes me so depressed. It makes me feel like my life is wasting away. And then he's like, I'm 22 for a moment. And I was like, oh God, I'm almost 35 next. That's the next verse. And then he's like, I'm 99 for a moment. I was like, you're almost dead. I like was listening to this on the bike, and I was trying to be like all pumped up for the rest of the session, and I was literally like doing everything I could not to listen to the lyrics because I was getting so sad. I was like, please God, let the song be over. So this was like being subjected to torture. I mean, one, I'm doing a spin workout. That's hard. Two, I'm being forced to listen to 100 years. Okay, I had to throw that in because it was my AntiJam for the week. I really apologize for anyone who likes it.
No, it's very existential. You make a good point. Like, I am about to have an anxiety attack right now. Just
I really struggle with existential songs. This was hard for me. So, like, it's weird though because I really like "We Are Young" by Fun.
Well, but that is literally the opposite, Kate. Like, the meaning of that song.
But it's also talking about time, but like, and about how like.
But that song is a celebration of time and the fleetingness of the moment.
You're gonna die soon.
Yeah, 100 years is like lamenting. Oh, well, there goes again. Oh, there goes.
Just for a moment, and like, the tune. Okay, we've dwelled enough. We will not be playing this sad excuse for a song here. My jam is the opposite. It is very happy, like most of my songs, and it is. I think this song is a tribute to the weather today. Today was like the first day of spring, basically, maybe yesterday, but like it was 70. Everyone flocked out of the dorms.
It was 79.
79.
It was breaking 80.
People flocked out of the dorms, and there was just like burning pale skin aglow. Like everyone's wearing shorts and skirts. It was so beautiful. So the song that I've chosen reflects that. It is called Getaway by Saint Motel. Amelia recommended it to me. Shout out to Amelia. And it is like so fun and carefree. And the second I listened to it, I was like, this totally depicts the weather today.
I would love to hear it.
Have you heard it before?
I have not, but the band sounds oddly familiar. I'll have to look them up later.
True.
Well, I hope we have another beautiful day so I can listen to it on that day.
So my vignette this week, I have named #Circle of Life. It is a short and sweet vignette, but basically so back to my physics and art class. It doesn't have to do with the class though. It's in the basement of the Science Center, and I went down there for class this last week, went to the classroom, sat down, and I was a little bit early, and there was this girl sitting behind me, which is weird because the row behind me is like, or directly behind me is all boys. At least those 3 seats. And this was really early. So she like clearly doesn't usually sit there, looked out of place. I was in the classroom early. Why is she there? And so I reflect on this for a long time. And I took the brave risk of going, are you a prospective student? And I was right. Thank God I was right. I was so scared. I was like, I've sat here all year. And I would have been like, oh, I hate myself. Anyways, she was a prospective student. And the reason that I was inclined to reach out to her was because when I visited Hamilton, I visited that exact same classroom. So the first and only class I saw at Hamilton before going there was in that classroom in the basement of the Science Center. And I sat there and I was really nervous because no one was really saying hi to me. And I think one person said hi to me, but I was like, oh, like I wish the students were a little more friendly. And like, obviously that didn't taint my perception of the school, but this girl was really sitting there and no one was talking to her. And I like felt awkward. And then I was like, wait, that was like me when I was a high schooler. And so I was like, where are you from? What grade are you in? And we had this cute little chat before class started. And it like, I just like wanted her to look, if she goes to Hamilton, I wanted her to like look back at the moment that she first like, I don't know if I was the first Hamilton student who interacted with her, maybe I'm being narcissistic and idealistic, but I don't know. So this is why I call it the circle of life. I just thought it was very full circle.
Oh, that's lovely. I think these little things really stick with people though, because when I visited Hamilton, I honestly don't remember like anything that happened that day except for I remember very vividly I just crossed the bridge and I was walking to KJ in like a tour group. And these Hamilton students walked by us and yelled, "Go Hamilton!" And they all were like raising their hands and waving at us and they were so excited to be there and see us. And that's all I remember from that day. Yeah. And that made such an impression. I was driving with my parents and they were like, "What did you like about it?" And I was like, they were just so happy and friendly. And that's the only little tidbit that I remember from that day.
I remember like going to that class and my tour guide, who I then met when I came to Hamilton. People really remember their tour guides. It is amazing.
Yeah, well, I think tour guides, like, have personalities, so it would make sense that...
Yeah, true. More than like, oh, Hamilton.
Yeah.
Though clearly that is effective, too.
Well,
So, Rachel, tell me about your vignette that is titled...
You know what this is, Kate. We already talked about this. Stop lying. I'm really excited about this vignette. It is a podcast-related vignette, and it is related to podcasts because it is about the new podcast that one of my suite mates, Sebastian, is producing independently with his friend Nico, who's in the suite next door. And the podcast is titled NPRG because it's a pirate-themed podcast. And NPRG stands for Naval Pirate Radio, which I thought was so clever.
That is
like,
clever.
wow, you have the double pirate sound and the Naval Pirate Radio, NPR, like National Public Radio. I was like, wow, that's just... I wish I had thought of that. So Seb and Nico burst into our suite the other day. I think it was like a Monday or something. And Emily and I were chilling in the suite, and they go, do you guys want to listen to our new podcast? We finished our first episode, and we were like, oh, yeah, sure, okay. And they go, do you want, like we'll make you a drink. Do you want an old-fashioned? And we were like, okay, yeah, sure. So they disappeared, and they come back 10 minutes later with 4 mugs full of beautiful old-fashions with fresh-cut orange slices and really nice, like, whiskey or bourbon or whatever, old, like, mothball-tasting liquors and old-fashions. I don't really know. And I usually don't like old-fashions, but... this one was just so good, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that everyone around me was drinking it. We were all in just such a good mood, but we all sat back in our armchairs in the suite. We all sipped our old fashions. We turned on the podcast on the sound system, so it just blasted through the suite, and it was like almost an hour long, and we listened to the whole thing, and we were in tears. I was laughing the entire time.
That's amazing.
It is so funny. I had low expectations because I was like, oh, a pirate-themed podcast, like, okay. But it honestly blew me out of the water, no pun intended. They have this segment where they have this messenger pelican named Beaky who comes in and delivers them, like, fan questions about their pirate lives, and Nico's the one who makes the pelican noises, and he goes, rah, rah, and it's so good. So I think I heard Seb editing their second episode today in his bedroom, so I'm really excited for when it comes out. And I told them they have to make a SoundCloud or a YouTube so I can listen to them and tell other people to listen to them. And I promised Seb that I would talk about his podcast on our podcast, so here I am. And in return, he promised to talk about our podcast on his podcast.
Ooh, in Pirate Voices.
In Pirate Voices. I don't know how that's going to work because they have a very themed podcast that is raunchy and has nothing to do with our self-help, like... I don't know, creative type podcast, but we'll see.
Our Gretchen Rubin ripoff?
Yeah.
Is that what you meant, Rachel?
Our tribute to Gretchen Rubin. So we'll see if he holds true to his promise. But Seb, huge shout out to you and Nico. I honestly really, really enjoyed your podcast.
I'm excited to hear it at some point. That's exciting.
I will bully them into uploading it to YouTube, and I will send it to you. Recording for a moment, caught in between arts and crafts, but it's nearly midnight, fantasizing about bedtime. Podcast, there's no time for you, no time to record or edit, it's true. Podcast must be a segue better than this. But we've only got 100 years to live.
Why did you have to finish the song? I hate that part.
This is not helping me convince Kate to move in with me after graduation.
You're gonna do this to me every night I get in bed. You're gonna, like, scoot over to my bed and be like, we've only got...
This thought hadn't occurred to me, but I'm going to jot that down for future reference. This is like, we did have a nightly routine last summer because it was so hot that I would get your little rice pack out of the freezer and drape it across your sweating body at night.
My nude sweating body.
Yeah, Kate would groan at me from the bed across the room and go, Rachel, can you get my ice pack?
If we haven't mentioned this, our dorm room last summer was so hot we had to sleep with ice packs on our bodies. How sad is that?
It's like probably illegal, but it's fine.
Well, Rachel, tell me about your Scribble
Well, I don't have a Scribble, but I have a Scribble.
Ouch.
My Scribble's actually pretty bad this week. I told you a little
So
bit about
is
this. Well, not bad as in that it's not a Scribble, because it is, but it is, like, the thing that I did was a bad thing, and I feel bad about it, and I feel like a bad person. So I had this one-page paper due for my religious studies class, and I kind of forgot about it until the night before it was due, and I was like, oh, I could just do it tomorrow, it's just one page. But I didn't realize until the next day that I had a super full day, and the free time that I usually could count on to do that kind of stuff I didn't really have. So I had to write it during lunch, and I had like a 20-minute span to write it. And I could have just canceled my lunch plans or written it, I don't know, in some other free minute. Like during breakfast, I could have woken up just, half an hour earlier than I usually do and actually put effort into it. But I wrote it in 15 to 20 minutes, like right before it was due, and I don't think it was very good, and I hated that I did that, and I feel really bad about it.
Ugh.
Yeah, and
I don't like that feeling.
It reminds me of, we're talking in counseling psych about considering yourself to be a holistic being, and if you do bad things, it doesn't make you a bad person, but we often feel that way. Like, oh, I failed that test, therefore I am stupid, and therefore I am a bad person, and I don't have value. Which is not true. Like, you made a mistake, you did a bad thing, but that doesn't taint your whole being. But that's how I feel. And it's kind of carried over into this week. Like, I have 20 more pages of my thesis that I have to write before Wednesday. I have all my notes, I know what I have to write, and I know I'm going to be up late tonight working on this, because I do not want to leave all of this until tomorrow. And I have a really busy day tomorrow. And I'm already thinking about how I'm probably not going to go to one of my classes tomorrow because I'll need the time, and I won't have the time to do the reading for that class anyway, so I'm going to have to make that excuse and not go, and that makes me feel bad. So I consider this to be a happiness demerit.
Oh, no.
Shout out to Gretchen Rubin.
Cue angel chorus.
Yeah, so that was a sad scribble. I think we've had really optimistic episodes these past 3 weeks, and I just totally brought the mood down a lot.
I have a sad scribble too, if it makes you feel any better. We also, for the record, sang a version of 100 Years, so this episode was not deemed to be happy.
That's true. That's true.
So I had an AntiJam. It's time for me to have an anti-scribble. Woo! Positivity this week. I'm trying to analyze why. Okay, so for context, I am in the final round for a speech that I need to write.
Ding ding, interjection. There are a couple of people in the running for commencement speaker.
Couple awesome people.
People.
Listeners.
I know pretty much all of them. And how many people are in the final running now? 5. So 40% of the people in this final running were my roommates from freshman year.
That is true.
So I feel like a proud mama. I love you guys, and the campus is recognizing that as well. So ding, interjection over.
68% of the people have been on this podcast.
True.
Tommy is also in the running. Shout out to Tommy.
Oh my gosh.
Our podcast really fosters...
You know what this means?
Public speaking.
You know the if A equals B, B equals C, through that equation, our podcast is basically in the top 5 greatest podcasts on this campus.
I thought you were going to say that our podcast made us what we are and made Tommy and Daphne what they are.
Also true. What this podcast is like King Midas and how he touches things, they turn to gold. Once people have laid their voice waves upon this dinky little audio recorder that has been transmitted into our podcast creation, they will achieve greatness.
It's time for Cedar to win the lottery.
That is true. Cedar, you're up next. Get hype.
Well, so I have to deliver this speech on Monday. I've known about it for 3 weeks, and it means a lot to me. I know what I want to write about, and I've thought a lot about it, and I would love to write. I'd love to really put my all into it. This is not something that I want to do at the last minute. Whereas like you're saying about your essay, it sucks to do things at the last minute, but you have to weigh it in comparison to the other important things in your life, and probably that paper was not as important, as a fun lunch with friends, even though it's graded, unlike your lunch with friends.
I needed to graduate from college.
True.
So
this paper is only will not change that. But this speech really means a lot to me. And I just like want to just know that I like did my best and wrote something that I was proud of. That is like all I want to do. And I can't start writing it. And I think every person in the finals has written it but me and practiced. Everyone has rehearsed it. And I haven't even put any words on a piece of paper. And it is on Monday. I'm freaking out about this. Hopefully by the time this podcast airs on Friday, I will have started writing it. But like, this is really eating away at me. And like, okay, so I'm trying. So the purpose of this Scribble is 1, to confess that I haven't written it and that I'm going to. But 2, try and figure out why I haven't started writing it. And like, I think part of it is I've been really busy and I truly have not had like several hours to sit down and write it. That is true. But the second thing is, I think that I'm really afraid of failing. Like, not failing, like, not like doing well in the finals. Like, I don't really care how I do in the finals. It's more like failing, like I write something that I'm not proud of. And like, I really like to think of myself as like liking speeches. I like have applied to work at TED Talks before. Like, I love persuasive speaking. I love public speaking. And like, I consider myself to be like a good public speaker. And the thought of me like ruining this opportunity by writing something I wasn't proud of really scares me. And therefore I can't start writing the speech because I've put too much pressure on like my own performance. Like, this is all self-driven. It's all just like, if I write something that I don't like, I'm going to be so sad about it, which is the reason, counterintuitively, I should start writing, because then I can edit it. But at the rate I'm going, I won't be able to edit it. So have you ever had this problem where you can't start something because like you just have so much pressure that it needs to be good and perfect? Oh no, I'm not going to bring up a Gretchen Rubinism. But do you know?
Don't let the perfect be
the enemy of the good.
I was going to say, this is my thesis situation right now, because I just keep thinking in my head, I know I have to revise this part, I know it has to be this long, I still have 20 pages left, it has to be like 35 to 40 pages, it has to be good enough to graduate, and so I can fulfill my honors requirement, and like blah, 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 blah. And also because I want to do justice to myself, and it seems like you want to do justice to yourself too, yeah. Especially probably more so for you, because this speech literally represents you as a person. Like, you're going to put yourself into it.
Yeah, it's not an academic assignment.
Yeah, it's all about your narrative. And I feel that to some extent because my department is my thing, and it's one of the things that I love most about myself and that I'm most proud of, that I think I'm good at. So if I don't do well on this, it's like, well, if that one thing that I thought about myself, which was that I'm really good at Hispanic studies, turns out to not be so true, first of all, I am worthless, I'm a failure, that whole like psychology chain thing. And second of all, what else am I wrong about? Like, do I not know myself? Have I changed? Am I going to become it just opens up this whole Pandora's box.
Yeah, I just don't want to like let myself down. And you're right, enjoying public speaking is like part of my identity. And like, I've been really proud of myself to make it this far. And the thought of like blowing it because I couldn't start writing the speech and write something I was proud of is so scary, but it's like preventing me from writing. So hopefully later this week I can get past it and say, something is better than nothing. I have to get started. And I also have to have like faith in myself that like I can write something that I'll be proud of, and like no matter how it fares in the grand scheme of things, like as long as I'm proud of it, that's what matters, which is what matters to me. But I just need to write it.
Well, I don't know if this will be helpful for you to hear, but I know that it will be something that you're proud of because I can tell how important this is to you. So I cannot even conceive of you writing a commencement speech, of you even being possible of creating a commencement speech that doesn't reflect who you are and doesn't make you proud of yourself. Because it's something you're so passionate about, it's just going to happen. Like, you're stressed about it now, and it might not happen when you want it to, because you're going to need to just, like, get the inspiration bolt. But, like, it's literally impossible for me to conceive of Kate Bruns writing a commencement speech that is not a Kate Bruns commencement speech.
That's fair. Well, listeners, wish me luck when you hear this, and when I hear myself on WHCL, when I'm sitting in the booth on Friday. I hope future Kate, hear me now. Please have started that speech.
Are you there, future Kate? Knock, knock.
If I'm sitting in the booth and I haven't started, I'm going to burst into tears at this segment.
Bet you weren't expecting this. but my experiment is also sad and about me being a bad person.
Oh my gosh.
So this is a TBT experiment. One of my past experiments was week 13 of the podcast, and I told myself to stop making excuses and write my thesis. What am I doing right now? I'm not writing my thesis, and I'm making a ton of excuses about that.
You are not making excuses.
I am, though. So here's the thing, which is infuriating. I've put a lot of work into it over the past week because I know the deadline's approaching and I need that deadline to like whip me into shape. But it's just so vast that I put all this work into it and it just creates more work that needs to be done, and I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. I'll inch out a few pages and I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'm 17 pages deep now. I'm halfway there, but I'm only through a quarter of my outline and I am still adding stuff to my outline. Why am I doing that? It's just growing like a fungus. So I feel like, yeah. So I'm just like getting really tired of it and I'm starting to make excuses. Like today I was like, oh, I'm gonna multitask and watch this movie on Netflix and rearrange my outline. I just watched the whole movie on Netflix. I just sat there for an hour and a half picking at my toenails going, oh great, this is, Jesus, I have to do my thesis in an hour.
Oh no.
So yeah, sad experiment is that I'm not doing an experiment. It's that I've failed my experiment. Okay, I haven't failed. I'm not doing as well as I hoped that I would be doing. But also, I know that the only thing that I can do is the best that I can. And right now, I truly am trying my best. It's just that my process applied to the thesis process is a really hard, rectification. Is that a word? I don't know. It's really hard to rectify those two things because I am such a procrastinator. And I'm such a perfectionist. And that's just, you just can't do that with thesis. So these next 2 days are going to be really hard for me. And I just have to accept that.
Yeah.
So I'm gritting my teeth, but I'm hoping that because it has to get done, it will get done. And it's probably going to suck a lot. But
you should buy yourself a fun snack or something at the store.
Oh, I don't know.
Something like, I used to hate practicing piano. I played piano for 8 years, and I could not, my teacher wanted me to practice an hour a day, and I was like, heck no, I have so much other stuff to do. And so my mom would put a bowl of M&Ms, this is so funny, she would put a bowl of M&Ms, I was way too old for this, on the edge of the piano, and she'd be like, every time you finish practicing a song, you get to eat one. So then it was made it kind of fun, and so this is a very trivial way to engage yourself now that you are 21 and in college, but still, I mean, you could, reward yourself with something else or find a way to make it a little more fun. I don't know.
Yeah,
you can have a dance song every page.
I have been doing that actually. I'll put in the footer, once you finish this page, you get to watch this cute YouTube video of babies. So I've been rewarding myself with cute YouTube videos of babies.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
It's been working, but I'm now getting tired of that, and I'm getting frustrated, and I just go straight to the video, and I'm like, I'm sketched.
Oh, yeah. Very true.
So I'll let you know what happens on our next episode, listeners, if I end up completing my rough draft, which is due this Wednesday at 3 p.m.
Well, if you need a writing buddy, I'll be around. Needing to write.
Thanks.
My experiment is positive, which is nice. I had my meditation class on Thursday, and I wanted to check in about it. So my experiment for this week is to try and meditate for 5 minutes a day, or practice mindfulness for 5 minutes a day, because it has to be the way to get better at it. My meditation class was really fun. It was really relaxing. I felt really energized after, even though you're closing your eyes the whole time. You'd think it'd be tiring, but resting your mind makes you you feel like you have thoughts racing around a little bit less, which is nice. But he was like, okay, everyone, we're gonna meditate, and he led us through a 15-minute guided or pretty much silent meditation. He didn't really speak very much, and at the end he was like, how'd it go for everyone? And we all looked around, and he goes, how many of you fell asleep? And half the class raised their hands. I was stressed for the entire meditation because I was trying so hard to stay awake. My mind, I would start consciously dreaming, but I was sitting up, but I would start thinking of this crazy stuff, and then my attention would snap up, and I'd be like, that wasn't a normal thought. that felt like a dream. What was I thinking about? It was like this half sleeping, half waking state. And I got so stressed out that I was falling asleep that I was like not relaxed. So it was funny. But the interesting thing that Ravi said was that, he's the instructor, was that it says something about our society that if we sit still for 15 minutes, our natural inclination is to fall asleep. That is so interesting to me. Like, I wasn't even tired that day. I was like feeling fine, but my body's reaction was like, oh, this is rest time now, and just was ready to pass out.
Oh my gosh, that really just hit me. Like, if we have any opportunity to relax, it must be bedtime, because we don't relax at any other point during our day.
Well, yeah. Well, and also when I'm resting, like, let me just like chill on my bed for like 20 minutes. Wait, ready for this? I get on my phone, and then I'm like reading stuff or doing stuff. Like, my brain doesn't rest until I'm literally in bed at night. Like, I never just sit and like let myself think or I like have to be occupied. And it was like kind of upsetting, but also interesting to think about. So anyways, I'm trying this new meditation once a day, right in the morning, and we'll see what happens.
I'm curious to see how this goes for you, because I have been chugging along on the meditation choo-choo train since sophomore year. I've been trying to get Meg, shout out to Meg, to meditate for the longest time.
Do you meditate every day?
Not every day, because I tried to do that and it was totally unrealistic. Even 10 minutes, just because it would make me feel so bad if I didn't meet that every day, that it was like every day that was an opportunity for me to be disappointed in myself. So I just said that, like, whenever I felt that I needed it and I had the time to, I would. So that I did as frequently as I could, so I never disappointed myself and I only ever pleased myself. So sometimes I'll meditate every day for a bunch of days in a row, and other times I'll go a few days, a few weeks without doing it. But 2 nights ago, actually, I was really tired and I was like, oh, I have to work on my thesis. But I was talking to Daphne and she's like, you should just... But I was like, oh, my like head is racing and I feel like physically tired, but I'm like freaking out. And she's like, we should just go to bed. Why don't you just like meditate and then go to bed? And I was like, oh, maybe I will. So I got into my room and I put on my salt lamp and I meditated, and then I put lotion on myself and I went to bed and I felt great.
I love that.
So I am curious to see how you make this your own practice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm really good at putting things in like to a daily routine, or not good at, but like if I don't make it daily, I will never do it. And so 5 minutes seems good.
My exchange is a tiny little exchange. So I guess this podcast is Seb themed for me. I guess Seb is the person in the suite that I'm least close to. The suite is really weird because it's 3 of my best friends. I count Emily as being in the suite because she's there all the time. 3 of my best friends in the entire world, and then 3 people that I don't super hang out with. So there's a very weird division. But I've been getting closer to Seb recently, which is super cool because he's great. We just don't really, our paths don't cross a lot. And the other day, I had put a little bit more effort into my general outfit, which is generally how I live my life. I either look like a frump or I look like pretty good, like really good. Not to toot my own horn, but yeah. And I was just talking to people in the suite, and Seb is in the common room and he looks at me and he goes, Rachel, you look really good today. And I was just struck by that, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you, Seb, that was so kind. And I thought about it for the rest of the day, and it just totally made my day. It was just such an offhanded little compliment, but the fact that it came from Seb, and he didn't have to say that, and I also knew that he wasn't lying to me because he didn't have any motivation to lie, that I just really appreciated it. So thank you, Seb. That was really sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My exchange is very different. I don't know. There was this like senior 2017 networking luncheon thingy with champagne that I went to this week, and I was talking to this man who did like communications and journalism and radio, and telling him that I like was really interested in podcasting, and he went into this tangent about your speaking voice and avoiding vocal fry, and it made me so self-conscious that like all I do is speak with vocal fry, and also I speak too quickly, and like then I tried to counter him and be like, oh, well, that kind of stuff takes practice, and he's like, well, no, but if you practice it too much, it doesn't sound authentic, so you need to just normally talk like that. And then I got really self-conscious, and I like my speaking voice is like sometimes a like point of like what's the word I'm looking for? A point of like like self-deprecation for myself, or like insecurity. There's the word I'm looking for. An insecurity for me, because I've taken voice lessons. I've had maybe 2 voice lessons in my entire life. And the last voice lesson I ever had, the voice teacher told me that I needed to get speech therapy because of my speaking voice. And that I need to see someone with it because I talk with a depressed tongue. And if I continue talking like this, I will develop chronic laryngitis. So I better not go into a profession that involves a lot of speaking. And it really scared me because I got so anxious about the way I talk. And as I've gotten to be a senior, I think this is like placebo effect, but my voice has gotten more gravelly, and I feel like I'm always losing my voice. And that might be because I sing for 10 hours a week, which probably is it. But it makes me so anxious. And then this guy's over here you can't talk with vocal fry. And he was saying nobody wants to listen to that. It sounds terrible. And I was like, oh no, all I do is talk with vocal fry. So this conversation kind of freaks me out.
Oh, this is I hate when people just take the time to make someone else feel insecure or weird.
Yeah,
you could have just not done that, buddy.
I know. He was trying to give advice.
Yeah.
But of course, I don't take advice. I only take criticism. So I was freaking out over there.
Well, Kate, there is a certain someone who is in a speaking-based profession in the podcast world who pretty much only speaks with vocal fry. True. And she's very successful, and her name is Elizabeth Kraft, TV writer and producer living in Los Angeles.
Oh my god. That is true. Well, I hope that I can find a way to reconcile this, or if I go into radio or podcasting, that I can speak in the way that is comfortable for me and that isn't unpleasant to listen to.
Well, I think you'll be okay. I think people have a tendency to catastrophize, and
also true.
Yes, which we both do.
Well, listeners, that is all we have time for today on Liberal Arts and Crafts.
Don't forget to check us out on YouTube or SoundCloud if I remember to upload the episodes amidst all of my thinking about my diddly darn thesis. And now for our very special sponsors.
This episode of Liberal Arts and Crafts was sponsored by those bright orange peanut butter crackers.
I love those. This episode was also sponsored by the terror you feel when you know you're too hungry to go on, but you're too far away from any sort of food to save yourself.
This episode was also sponsored by the paradox of my workout habits paired with my grotesque eating habits.
And this episode was sponsored by the disintegrating stickers on Kate's laptop.
And the disintegrating nature of Kate's laptop.
And the disintegrating nature of Rachel's spirit.
And last but not least, this episode was sponsored by WHCL.